wisdom cannot be imparted. Wisdom that a wise man attempts to impart always sounds like foolishness to someone else. Knowledge can be communicated, but not wisdom. One can find it, live it, do wonders through it, but one cannot communicate and teach it. Oh, love isn't there to make us happy. I believe it exists to show us how much we can endure. Those who are too lazy and comfortable to think for themselves and be their own judges obey laws. Others sense their own laws within them. Often, it is the most deserving people who cannot help loving those who destroy them. I learned through my body and soul that it was necessary to sin, that I needed lust, that I had to strive for property and experience nausea in the depths of despair in order to learn not to resist them,
200 yards,
in order
slide
to
left
learn
onto
to
South
love
Lambeth
the world,
Road,
and no longer
A203.
compare it with some kind of desired imaginary version of perfection, but to leave it as it is, to love it, and be glad to belong to it.
Slide left onto South Lambeth Road, A203.
Each man had only one genuine vocation, to find the way to himself. His task was to discover his own destiny,
Continue for 3/4
not
of a
an
mile.
arbitrary one, and to live it out wholly and resolutely within himself. Everything else was only a would-be existence, an attempt at evasion, a flight back to the ideals of the masses, conformity, and fear of one's own inwardness. It is not for me to judge another man's life. I must judge, I must choose, I must spurn purely for myself alone. We are sun and moon, dear friend. We are sea and land. It is not our purpose to become each other. It is to recognize each other, to learn to see the other and honor him for what he is, each the other's opposite and complement. Youth ends when egotism does. Maturity begins when one lives for others. Whoever wants music instead of noise, joy instead of pleasure, soul instead of gold, creative work instead of business, passion instead of foolery, finds no home in this trivial world of ours. Trees have always been the most penetrating creatures. I revere them when they live in tribes and families, in forests and groves. And even more, I revere them when they stand alone. They are like lonely persons, not like hermits who have stolen away out of some weakness, but like great solitary men, like Beethoven and Nietzsche. In their highest boughs the world rustles, their roots rest in infinity, but they do not lose themselves there. They struggle with all the force of their lives for one thing only, to fulfill themselves according to their own laws, to build up their own form, to represent themselves. Nothing is holier, nothing is more exemplary than a beautiful, strong tree. When a tree is cut down and reveals its naked death wound to the sun, one can read its whole history in the luminous inscribed disc of its trunk, in the rings of its years, its scars, all the struggle, all the suffering, all the sickness, all the happiness and prosperity stand truly written. The narrow years and the luxurious years, the attacks within, the storms endured, and every young farm boy knows that the hardest and noblest wood has the narrowest rings, that high on the mountains and in continuing danger, the most indestructible, the strongest, the ideal trees grow. Trees are sanctuary. Whoever knows how to speak to them, whoever knows how to listen to them, can learn the truth. They do not preach learning and precepts. They preach, undeterred by particulars, the ancient law of life. A tree says, a kernel is hidden in me, a spark, a thought. I am life from eternal life. The attempt and the risk that the Eternal Mother took with me is unique. Unique the form and veins of my skin. Unique the smallest play of leaves in my branches and the smallest scar on my bark. I was made the eternal in my smallest special detail. Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate. Your visions will become clear only when you can look into your own heart. Who looks outside dreams. Who looks inside awakes. People will do anything, no matter how absurd, in order to avoid facing their
In
own
200
soul.
yards, turn right onto
One does
Wandsworth
not become
Road,
enlightened by imagining
A3036.
figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious.
Turn right onto Wandsworth Road,
Be silent.
A3036.
Have you recognized your madness? And do you admit it? Have you noticed that all your
In
foundations are
200
completely
yards,
mired
keep
in
left to
madness?
continue on Wandsworth Road,
Do you not want to
A202.
recognize your madness and welcome it in a friendly manner? You wanted to accept everything, so accept madness too. Let the light of your madness shine,
Keep left
and
to
it will
continue on
suddenly
Wandsworth
dawn.
Road.
Madness is not to be despised and not to be feared, but instead you should give it life. If you want to find paths,
In a quarter of
you
a
should
mile,
also not
slide
spurn
left onto Drummond
madness,
Gate,
since it makes up such a great
A3213.
part of your nature. Be glad that you can recognize it, for you will thus avoid becoming its victim. Madness is a special form of the spirit and clings to all teachings and philosophies, but even more to daily life. Since life itself is full of craziness and at bottom, utterly illogical. Man strives towards reason only so that he can make rules for himself. Life itself has no rules. This is its mystery and its unknown law. What you call knowledge is an attempt to impose something comprehensible on life. Everything that irritates us about others can lead us to an understanding of ourselves. I am not what happened to me. I am what I choose to become. A man who has not passed through the inferno of his passions has never overcome them. As far as we can discern, the sole purpose of human existence is to kindle a light in the darkness of mere being. Knowing your own darkness is the best method for dealing with the darkness of other people. Loneliness does not come from having no people about one,
Slide left
but
onto
from
Drummond
being
Gate,
unable to communicate the things
A3213.
that seem important to oneself, or from holding certain views which others find inadmissible. The pendulum of the
In
mind
300
oscillates
yards,
between
turn
sense
right onto St.
and
George's Square,
nonsense, not between
A3213.
right and wrong. There are as many nights as days, and the one is just as long as the other in a year's course. Even a happy life cannot be without a measure of darkness, and the word happy would lose its meaning if it were not
Turn
balanced by
right onto
sadness.
St. George's Square, A3213.
It all depends how we look at things, and not on how things are in themselves. The least of things with a meaning is worth more in life than the greatest of things without it.
Continue on A3213 for half a
The
mile.
first half of life is devoted to forming a healthy ego. The second half of life is going inward and letting go of it. Where love rules, there is no will to power. And where power predominates, love is lacking. The one is the shadow of the other. I am astonished, disappointed, pleased with myself. I am distressed, depressed, rapturous. I am all these things at once, and cannot add up the sum. I am incapable of determining ultimate worth or worthlessness. I have no judgment about myself and my life. There is nothing I am quite sure about. I have no definite convictions, not about anything really. I know only that I was born to exist, and it seems to me that I have been carried along. I exist on the foundation of something I do not know. We should not pretend to understand the world only by the intellect. We apprehend it just as much by feeling. Therefore, the judgment of the intellect is at best only half of the truth, and must, if it be honest, also come to an understanding of its inadequacy. Mistakes are, after all, the foundations of truth. If a man does not know what a thing is, it is at least an increase in knowledge, if he knows what it is not. No tree, it is said, can grow to heaven, unless its roots reach down to hell. It is my mind, with its store of images, that gives the world color and sound, and that supremely real and rational certainty, which I can experience, is in its most simple form an exceedingly complicated structure of mental images. Thus there is, in a certain sense, nothing that is directly experienced except the mind itself. Everything is meditated through the mind, translated, filtered, allegorized, twisted, even falsified by it. We are enveloped in a cloud of changing and endlessly shifting images. Every form of addiction is bad, no matter whether the narcotic be alcohol, morphine, or idealism. About a third of my cases are suffering from no clinically definable neurosis, but from the senselessness
In
and
200
emptiness of
yards,
their
turn
lives.
right onto Buckingham Palace Road,
This can be defined as the general
A3214.
neurosis of our times. Midlife is the time to let go of our over-dominant ego
Turn right onto
and to
Buckingham Palace
contemplate the
Road,
deeper significance of
A3214.
human existence. Wholeness is not achieved by cutting off a portion of one's being, but by integration of the contraries. In all chaos, there is a cosmos. In all disorder, a secret order. I have frequently seen people become neurotic when they content themselves with inadequate or wrong answers to the questions of life. They seek position, marriage, reputation, outward success of money, and remain unhappy and neurotic even when they have attained what they were seeking. Such people are usually confined within too narrow a spiritual horizon. Their life has not sufficient content, sufficient meaning. If they are enabled to develop into more spacious personalities, the neurosis generally disappears. As a child, I felt myself to be alone, and I am still, because I know things, and must hint at things which others apparently know nothing of, and for the most part do not want to know. The acceptance of oneself is the essence of the whole moral problem, and the epitome of a whole outlook on life. That I feed the hungry, that I forgive an insult, that I love my enemy in the name of Christ. All these are undoubtedly great virtues.
Continue for
What I
3/4
do
of a
unto
mile.
the least of my brethren, that I do unto Christ. But what if I should discover that the least among them all, the poorest of all beggars, the most impudent of all offenders, the very enemy himself, that these are within me, and that I myself stand in need of the arms of my own kindness, that I myself am the enemy who must be loved. As a rule, the Christian's attitude is then reversed. There is no longer any question of love or long-suffering. We say to the brother within us, Raca, and condemn and rage against ourselves. We hide it from the world. We refuse to admit ever having met this least among the lowly in ourselves. We are not rich by what we possess, but by what we can do without. Act in such a way that you treat humanity, whether in your own person or in the person of any other, never merely as a means to an end, but always at the same time as the end. All our knowledge begins with the senses, proceeds then to the understanding, and ends with reason. There is nothing higher than reason. Seek not the favor of the multitude. It is seldom got by honest and lawful means. But seek the testimony of few, and number not voices, but weigh them. Genius is the ability to independently arrive at and understand concepts that would normally have to be taught by another person. Enlightenment is man's emergence from his self-imposed immaturity. Immaturity is the inability to use one's understanding without guidance from another. Two things fill my mind with ever-increasing wonder and awe, the more often and the more intensely the reflection dwells on them: the starry heavens above me and the moral law within me. Morality is not properly the doctrine of how we may make ourselves happy, but how we may make ourselves worthy of happiness. Rules for happiness: something to do, someone to love, something to hope for. The people naturally adhere most to doctrines which demand the least self-exertion and the least use of their own reason, and which can best accommodate their duties to their inclinations. Our age is the age of criticism, to which everything must be subjected. The sacredness of religion and the authority of legislation are by many regarded as grounds for exemption from the examination of this tribunal. But if they are exempted, they become the subjects of just suspicion, and cannot lay claim to sincere respect, which reason accords only to that which has stood the test of a free and public examination. One who makes himself a worm cannot complain afterwards if people step on him. Skepticism is thus a resting place for human reason, where it can reflect upon its dogmatic wanderings and make survey of the region in which it finds itself, so that for the future it may be able to choose its path with more certainty. If the truth shall kill them, let them die. It was the duty of philosophy to destroy the illusions which had their origin in misconceptions. Whatever darling hopes and valued expectations may be ruined by its explanations. Look closely. The beautiful may be small. Innocence is a splendid thing, only it has the misfortune not to keep very well, and to be easily misled. As nature has uncovered from under this hard shell the seed for which she most tenderly cares, the propensity and vocation to free thinking. This gradually works back upon the character of the people, who thereby gradually become capable of managing freedom. Finally, it affects the principles of government, which finds it to its advantage to treat men, who are now more than machines, in accordance with their dignity. For peace to reign on Earth, humans must evolve into new beings who have learned to see the whole first. In all judgments by which we describe anything as beautiful, we allow no one to be of another opinion. How then is perfection to be sought? Wherein lies our hope? In education, and nothing else. Man must be disciplined, for he is by nature raw and wild.
In 200 yards, slide right onto Piccadilly.
Out of the crooked timber of humanity, no straight thing was ever made. Space and time are the frameworks within which the mind is constrained to construct its experience of reality. Thoughts without content are empty. Intuitions without concepts are blind.
Slide right onto Piccadilly, then turn left onto Park Lane.
Nothing is divine but what is agreeable to reason.
Turn left onto Park Lane, A4202.
Abandoned by himself on a desert island, would adorn neither his hut nor his person, nor would he seek for flowers. Still less would he plant them in order to adorn himself.